Hey dreamers, this is Jade. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I have been meaning to record this video for quite a while and I'm finally getting around to it. And I just wanted to kind of take you through a journey of my A6 journals. These are all my like official creative or journals or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, the reason I ended up on A6 is because when the whole Hobonichi craze kind of started back years ago, I first picked up the Miguel Ruiz notebooks from Barnes and Noble, and I'm not sure what the exact size of those are, possibly A5, but they are much larger than A6. And I was doing that, but it was, after a while, it became a chore to try to keep up with that every day. And so I was watching YouTube and I saw somebody with a smaller journal and they said it was an A6 size. And I said, I want to try that size. So I went on Amazon and just looked up A6 journals, and this was one that came up. So this is the one that I started with. This is my first A6 journal that I've used for my creative journal. I kind of have this in order by year. So I'm going to slide this stuff over, and I'm not going to like do a complete flip through of everything. However, I will kind of give you a taste, if that makes sense, of everything we got going on. So this, as I said, was my very first A6. This is the Pentalic sketchbook, and it was grid paper. I wanted to try grid paper because the Miguel Ruiz was grid, and I found using it that I really enjoyed the grid paper for stuff like that, for, you know, like drawing things out and all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, here is just kind of a quick overview. So this is, as I said, my first A6. I started in 2018 with this, and it was fun. I really enjoyed the size. I could get what I needed down in either a 2-page spread or 1 page here. Love this. I would experiment. I will say that this paper here did not take watercolor well. So if I did do watercolor, I definitely had to glue pages together so it wasn't seeping out on the other side. But yeah, so I'll show you some of my, this was, see, back when the first Black Panther came out. Here was my ticket. Looks like it's kind of fading now, but yeah. Anyway, really back when I was really liking those swirls. As you can see here, it just wasn't holding the watercolor well. But I loved the size of it. This was the year my sister turned 30. And so I discovered Zach Morris's trash. So I've been going through some of those, which was cool. But anyway, yeah, I had made this. I need to figure out if I still have this file, actually. But anyway, moving on. So this, again, was my first A6 size, and I definitely knew that I wanted to keep using A6 after I had used this one. I also knew that I wanted to change the paper up because this one wasn't taking mediums as well as I would have liked it to. So what I did was, the next time I decided to get an A6, I think I moved into Stalogy. No. I did not move into a Stalogy. It was this. I tried the Midori because, you know, again, being online, looking at different stuff, people were talking about the Midori and the Midori paper. So I was like, okay, let me try that one next. And so I did. And this one was, what year was I in this one? 2018 as well. So this must have been a continuation. Yeah, a continuation from 2018. And I think it gets into 2019 because this is November. And so I would do a lot of drawing. I don't draw as much anymore. Not because I don't want to, just because sometimes it takes a lot of time and I don't feel like it. But I do like drawing or sketching things out, just playing around and stuff. So yeah, this was my next one, the Midori. And I still had to paste stuff together, but it did take watercolor a little bit better than the other one that I first had. Again, this is 2019. I really love this page. This is acrylic paint. So it did take other mediums just a little bit better than the other one. So I was happy with this paper. I wasn't very excited about it at first. I will say that. However, the more I used it, the more I actually really enjoyed this notebook. And I've been remembering that I think I said I wanted to try it again or go back to it. But anyway, and I do have completed flip throughs of all of these journals I do have completed flip throughs of all of these journals that I have completed. It should be in a journal flip through playlist if anybody is interested. So I won't be doing like a complete flip of these in here. I'm just discussing my journey through A6. So I started with this Pentalic, moved on to this Midori because I wanted some paper that did mediums a little better than that or whatever. And then of course during the course of using this Midori, I like this too when I really got into using what do you call them, the distress inks. I just love the way they looked on the paper. And then I just did a watercolor here, so more distress inks. There's another one, I feel like, oh yeah, this here. So I would experiment with that or whatever. And so in the Midori did really well for me. I enjoyed it, whatever. But then looking through different journals and stuff, and I kept hearing people talk about Tomoe River paper. And so I said, my next journal, I am going to splurge if it requires splurging and get me a journal with Tomoe River paper. So that's what I did. And I didn't go with the typical, of course, Hobonichi at first. What I did find was this A6 Nanami Cafe Note, which had the original Tomoe River notebook paper at first. I remember with this one, I wanted it, and when I went to buy it, it was of course out of stock. It was out of stock for a long time, so I basically had to stalk that website until it came back in stock, and finally was able to get my hands on one. And so I do believe, yeah, I moved into this in, no, I'm doing this out of order. The next notebook that I heard a lot about was the Stalogy. So after I moved on from the Midori, I moved into the Stalogy. Now this was a cover by Salty Katie Co. The elastic got really out of shape, misshapen here, or whatever. Yeah, see, we're moving in, yes, because this is 2019 still. And this went from, the other one, the Midori, went from 2018 through 2019. So this is 2019 as well. And so I wanted to try the Stalogy paper. People were raving about this and saying how it does take watercolor and all that kind of stuff well. And this was the first thing I created in it, which I really liked because it was like huge things going on at the same time. So we had the end of the Avengers, and then we also had the conclusion of Game of Thrones. So I tried to fit them all in here in some way, and I actually really love the way that this turned out. Anyway, so yeah, wanting to use watercolor, and it did take watercolor really well. Got stuff stuck here. Okay, yeah. So, and then also distress inks as well. So just doing some experimenting. This was probably one of my favorite spreads in this, using, this was not distress ink, this was like the alcohol inks, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, and like watercolor inks, but it was the kind like you drip and not like actual watercolors. But I really enjoyed the way that turned out. I need to do something like that again. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, this is just basically, Stalogy was my next foray into A6 after the Midori here. And as you can see, yeah, this was when Game of Thrones was concluding and all of that kind of stuff. And then we had Avengers. I'm not sure if it was Endgame or Yeah, in game. So, and a lot of stuff going on. Of course, the new Aladdin came out around this time in 2019. Conclusion of, what was that show with Gabrielle Union? Of course, I can't remember it right now, but I'm sure you all know. And then Ed Sheeran's What You Call came out, the collaboration album, the #6 album. Yeah, really enjoying Stranger Things. It was like a new season or something, so I'm pretty sure that's what I was writing about. And yeah, see, the #6 album. But yeah, really, really enjoyed the Stylogy paper. I have noticed using, even in my Hobonichis, using, somebody let me know if there's something else I need to do. I don't know. But using the Stylogy and the Hobonichis, I will sometimes take pages together. And eventually you can see where I taped with this red. It's like a red outline that shows up, and it kind of drives me crazy. But I don't know why it's doing that, because I use the acid-free tape to in my ATG gun. So I don't know why it's doing that. If anybody has any idea, please let me know. I would really appreciate it. Anyway, moving on. So, I mean, this is pretty much it for the Stylogy. I really enjoyed using it. I will say it was a whole lot of paper. But I got through it. I finished the journal, and yeah, no, I didn't finish. Well, I finished, but I didn't. This is when I decided I was finished, because I was like, okay, this is too much paper, and it was starting to get entirely too difficult trying to write with the hump. And at that point, I didn't know that I could bend it backwards. So yeah. Anyway, see, I still have stuff stored in here that I was possibly going to use in my journal spreads. But anyway, after the Stylogy, that's when I finally decided, okay, I'm finally going to splurge on something with Tomoe River paper, and picked up the Nanami Cafe Note. And so it took some getting used to. I will say I wasn't like 100% down with this Tomoe River paper at first. And forgive me if you see this thing floating. I am just trying to make the sound better. I bought these little lavalier mics here, and I've been trying those out. I really don't like the way the sound is with this. Like, it sounds like I'm in a tunnel or something. So I have not been using that after the first couple times I tried. I don't like the sound. But anyway, yeah, so I wasn't 100% down with the paper at first, but then I got used to it. And when I started actually in with the watercolors, which I don't even know when that is, that's when I was like, okay, yeah, I get it. I totally, totally get why people are loving. Here's some watercolor back here. Ah, I remember this. This was the last movie I got to see before the world imploded and the whole panorama thing started. So this was the last movie I saw in the theater, which was The Gentleman. Oh, love that movie. And if you've not seen the series on Netflix, go check it out, because it's really good. So yeah, using mediums in here. This was another spread that I really, really enjoyed in this journal. I'm trying to find, yeah, so here's some watercolor and stuff. So when I started watercoloring in here and seeing how well the paper took it and the way it made it look, I was like, okay, I'm down. I like it. And so the more I used it, the more I really, really grew to love this paper. And now it's my favorite yet. See, look how pretty that watercolor is in the background, you know? So this is when the Switch came out. So I believe that was my last foray into the outside world for a while. Was to go pick up my Switch at Target, because I had been wanting one for years, a Switch, but I kept putting it off, and I was like, it's gonna be the right time. And finally, when they announced that they were releasing a new Animal Crossing game with an Animal Crossing Switch, I was like, this is when I pulled the trigger. So I was up early to get my Switch, and that was pretty much it for really being outside like that for a good long while. So yeah, anyway, So yeah, when I started using watercolor and stuff like that, I was like, okay, this is it. I'm done. This is it. This is the paper that I want to use from now on. Is the Tomoe River paper. The only thing with this notebook, I really like using it. However, again, it's like so many pages. So I ended it here for me. This, I think, yeah, that's the last entry, which was November 19th, 2020. Again, the watercolor looked really good, but it was getting difficult to use and what stuff like that. So I was like, I need to figure out something that is smaller. That is not what I did at first. That comes a little bit, just a little bit later. But I did go from the Stalogy to the Nanami Cafe, and that's when I figured out that absolutely I like the Tomoe River Notebook. Can I talk? The Tomoe River paper, and I wanted to continue on with that. So finally, I got into a Hobonichi. And this is the Hobonichi notebook. And even though it's thin, you see how it grew, how it swole up and got into a nice chunky little journal here. So this was 2021. And this, yeah, carried me into, this was 2020. And I believe I just started in January because I was over that other notebook. So yeah, here was my intro. And I think, I'm not sure why it's split right here. I think it's probably too much going on. And so yeah, but anyway, it is what it is. It doesn't really bother me because it's stored now anyway. So yeah. And this was my next Tomoe River notebook paper notebook, the actual Hobonichi, which is, I think, like was the main brand for Tomoe River paper notebooks anyway. So I did grab this and I loved it so much. I loved working in this. Again, the watercolors, and this is the year that I started doing a recap as far as my faves on in entertainment and media and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed doing that. So I have kept up with that through now. Like I'm doing it still in 2024. This started for me in, what year did I say this was? 2021? Yeah, so still doing that. And basically, yeah, just continuing on. The only thing with this is the grid is, see, again, you see what I'm talking about? Somebody explain that to me. The grid is super tiny. So, I was used to it at first, but now I find in my new, because I've since gone back to the Tomoe River notebook paper, I've since gone back. I switched to something else, and then I've since gone back to the Hobonichi notebook. There you go. And so, it has the really tiny, tiny grid in it. And I've been doing every other line instead of every line for the most part. But I really enjoyed this when I had it. But again, it was so thick. Even though it comes when it's first out, or the original notebook kind of looks thin, it's, once you start putting stuff in it, it really, really grows. Yeah, see the watercolor in the background and how good that looks? I love it. Anyway, here's just a few of the spreads in this. I believe this is when I went car shopping because I had an accident. Yeah. But anyway, love the watercolors here. So the grid is tiny, and I was like, I want to continue using this paper, but I want something whose grid is not as much and the notebook is not as thick. So enter, this is Space Jam. This was a lot of fun. This was hilarious. So after that, well, that was one of my favorites for this notebook as well. Yep, and that's pretty much the end. It was getting difficult. See, a few pages left. It was getting difficult to continue on with this, so I ended it here. And then I can't remember whose channel it was, but they had a Tomoe River notebook paper notebook. that was thin. It was only like 80 pages and the grid was thicker. So I was like, okay, let me try that. I loved it. I think this is my favorite by far, because you open it up, again, Tomoe River, but look at the grid. The grid is much bigger, so it's easier to write, and you know, you had to write less. So that was a plus, because you don't all the time have a whole lot to write. So yeah, and then I was able to complete the entire thing without it getting like ridiculously chunky or to the point where I felt like I couldn't work in it anymore. So yeah, this was good for me. I love this. This was, remember this Super Bowl? This was so much fun. 2022. So this carried me from 2021. No, this is 2022. I think the other one was 2021 into 2022. And so, yeah, whatever. So, again, continuing my favorites here and whatnot. And I just had a lot of fun with this notebook. I think out of all of them, this was my favorite. And so I continued on out of this one once I was finished, which it took me through, let's see, May, I believe. I think this was the last month. So May 2022 that I got in here. And I really had no issues using this entire thing. Even the hump that started, I was able to fold it back so it wasn't as bad. So I didn't have as much trouble with this as I had in the Nanami and the Hobonichi notebook. So I was like, I want another one. And so that's what I did. I went and got another one. And continued on in this. Really, really loved it. As you can see, the color is just stunning in this paper. Again, the Tomoe River notebook. This was a hot mess. A boondoggle. Anyway, so yeah. Continuing on. And this was the year that Eddie showed up in Stranger Things, which was my favorite. So, and as you can see, I was just able to get through this whole thing. That it bothers me. It bothers me so much. But as you just, the watercolor coloring on this paper is just elite. It really is. And so it just, especially when you just want a touch of color, it's just so good. It's so good. Anyway, so we got through here. This lasted me through even the acrylic ink that you can use. I mean, it's stunning. So, and this one lasted me through when? October, it looks like. Yeah, October faves. So that was it. And since there was only like 3 pages left, there was no need for me to continue because I didn't want to start a completely new month with just 3 pages left. That was not going to work. So if it was more, I would have included November. But yeah, so that was the end of this notebook. Again, these were my 2 favorites, I think, because of it was perfect as far as the kind of paper I was using and the grid size that was available to me for this. And it was thinner, so it was easier to both get through the entire journal and also use without the obstruction of that hump that comes after a little while or whatever. So yeah, really, really love these. I've been trying to get more. I'm a grid girl, but they have not had these in stock for a little while. I don't know if it's because of the whole switch in paper and all of that kind of stuff. I am not sure. I'm trying to move these out of the way. But since then, I started back in I do believe this is, oh, no. I had another of those in my stash, the notebook, which was great. So I started last year. Let's just say I had gotten incredibly behind. So I was still trying to keep up in this, But after a while, I just was like, in the beginning of this year, I was like, I'm done. I think I will go back slowly as the mood hits me and complete entries, because I still have like the basics of the journaling. Like I know what happened on what day and yada yada yada. So I will do the basics eventually, but I'm not pressed to do it because I had gotten like a year behind, and I was like, ain't no way. I'm done. I was over it, but I really liked this journal, this paper. This is my favorite out of all of them. But instead of continuing in this, and I didn't have any more, and I haven't been able to buy any more, I did go back to for this year, and I'm behind a little bit, but not like that. Okay, I'm like just getting into February. And so yeah, I went back to the Tomoe River Notebook. Why I keep saying that? I went back to the Hobonichi notebook, which is still fun. I mean, it still has the paper I like. It takes watercolor the way I like, and other mediums and stuff like that. So I'm not pressed. The only thing here, as you can see, I filled in all of like I wrote one line at a time, but then here is when I start kind of just skipping each line. And I guess sometimes I feel like doing that and sometimes I don't. And that's okay. Here I did. And I think, yeah, here is just regular writing. So yeah, I need to get my January flip through done. And hopefully I will have done that, and that will be posted before this even goes up. But yeah, so I have moved into February, and I just need to continue on, and hopefully I'll be caught up soon, and I won't be like ridiculously behind as I was last year, and get to the point where I'm just like, I can't and I won't anymore. So yeah, anyway, that is my journey through the A6 size. And so typically notebooks, I mean, I have other notebooks for other purposes and stuff, but as far as my creative journal, it's A6 for me. That, I think I had found my size. I was going to experiment with like B6 Slim or something like that, but I've since decided that I'm just going to stick with the A6 for now. I am a if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of person. So yeah. So we started here. Let me find it. We started here and ended with the Hobonichi notebook again. So I circled back around to that one. Mostly because I couldn't get a hold of the Tomoe River notebook again. But yeah. So this was the Pentalic, and then I went to the Midori, and then I went to the Stalogy, which I like Stalogies too. There are other things that I use Stalogies for, like my morning pages, and I feel like there's something else, but I'm not remembering right now. But all of my other journals that I have, like a lot of the other journals that I keep, are A6 size. I do have a few pocket size things, possibly a passport, but I'm more of a tiny journal person, I've realized, and A6 is my basic. It's like my starting point. So yeah. Anyway, Pentalic, Midori, Stalogy. Then I went to the Nanami Cafe Note, and then to the Hobonichi notebook, and then to the Tomoe River notebook, and then back to the Hobonichi notebook. So that is my journey through A6. If you have any comments or questions about anything, then please leave those below. And I trust that everyone has been safe and well. If you're interested in a flip through of, my completed journals, there is a playlist for that, so you can check that out. I do think I have it linked below. So yeah, that pretty much wraps this up. As I said, I've been wanting to do this for a while, so finally got it done. Again, comments or questions, leave them below. Hope you've been safe and well, and I'll catch you all in the next one.